Hey, what's going on everybody? So Apple has released iOS 14.6 as well as iPadOS 14.6 and also tvOS, watchOS, and macOS Big Sur. Today in this video though, we're going to be focusing on iOS and iPadOS. There's quite a few new features here in this update. So as usual, we're going to go over the release notes that Apple put with this update, and then I'll show you some things that they did not mention in the release notes for today. So let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, so the first thing is the Apple Card family. So we now have the Apple Card family support. This was announced a little while ago, and apparently it's not going to actually be available until July or June, I believe. So probably around the WWDC time you might find out a little bit more information about it, but it is here in the software now, and I don't have an Apple Card, so I can't really show you how this works. But basically, you go into the Wallet app, you can tap on your Apple Card, and then I think there's like 3 dots that you can tap on, and there'll be a new option that says share your card, and that is where you can start the process of setting up your Apple Card families. So you have to have your family sharing enabled, so maybe if you share like an iCloud plan or something like that, but you have to have that enabled in order to use the Apple Card family. It can be shared up to 5 people in your family, and they have to be at least 13 years old in order to use it. So you basically, as a family, can have one credit card. So it's pretty cool. You can see all the expenses, track everything, even build your credit together as a family. So it's definitely an interesting concept, and I'm going to be also interested to see how many people actually use it in the future. But yeah, Apple Card family support is now here in 14.6. Next up has to do with podcasts. So we now have a new podcast splash screen here, so it kind of shows you some different things about the podcast app. And I also think that the App Store and something else has a new splash screen. Maybe it's Apple Music, but yeah, this is what the new splash screen looks like. But anyways, the main thing here is we now have support for the podcast subscription service. So basically now creators of podcasts can set up their own kind of subscription thing. So instead of having to run ads throughout their podcast, they can now have listeners subscribe to the podcast for a monthly fee, of course, and it's just a new way for creators to generate revenue from their podcast. Now, that can be found if you go to the Listen Now and then you tap on your account icon up there, and when you do that, you'll then be able to see a balance for your account, and then you'll also have a manage subscription option. So kind of like you do with your other Apple subscriptions, it'll be in that list. There's also some different things here in this app, kind of just to bring in a little bit more consistent with other Apple apps. Like one thing, if you go to your downloads, it says download it instead of downloads. And then there's just some different menu changes and things here and there. So they're constantly improving the podcast application lately. Next thing has to do with the AirTags. So AirTags obviously were just released not too long ago, and we already have some changes and updates to make the experience a little bit better. So with your AirTags, you can enable what is called lost mode. So if you've completely lost your AirTag and you have no idea where you placed it, you can enable the lost mode, and if somebody else finds it, they will be able to scan it basically with NFC, even on an Android phone, and they'll be able to see some contact information in order to get in touch with you to possibly return your lost AirTag. Well, when you put it in lost mode, you had to add your phone number. Well, some people don't want to add their phone number, so now you have the option to instead add an email address instead of your phone number. So when somebody scans your AirTag, it will appear as your email address instead of your phone number. And if you do decide to add your phone number, when the screen comes up on like an Android phone, for example, it'll open up a web page that tells it more information about the AirTag. But on there, if you do put your phone number, it will partially mask the number. So that way your phone number just isn't out there for everybody to see. Next thing has to do with voice control. So voice control is an accessibility feature that's been in iOS for quite some time. It allows you, of course, to control your device with your voice. You don't have to touch it or anything. Well, there was a problem with some people when the phone rebooted. You actually had to touch it in order to input your passcode and unlock the phone. Well, now voice control will work when you reboot your iPhone. So if the phone were to reboot, you could then say something like go home, and it will then press the home button, or in this case swiping up on this device, and then you can actually speak out your passcode. So you can say tap 1, etc., and then your phone will unlock. So if you reboot your phone and use voice control, you'll now be able to control it completely. So those are the things that Apple mentioned in the actual notes in the setting app today. We'll talk about the bug fixes here in a moment, but first let's talk about some other things here that you may not have known about. So Apple Music has a ton of new things here. So we now are going to get lossless music, which basically means higher quality music, so like CD quality or higher. And you'll see a new logo in your music app. It says something like Apple Digital Master, and that's how you know if you're listening to a lossless song. Now this feature isn't coming until June. I'm sure we'll find out more about it when WWDC comes up. But yeah, much higher quality music will now be available soon in Apple Music's app. Also, what will be available soon is spatial audio and Dolby Atmos sound. So again, bringing even better listening experience to Apple Music. Now, if you do have AirPods, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to use some of those features because of Bluetooth limitations, but you'll still be able to enjoy it through your speakers or other ways. There's also some different options here in the music settings. So we now have cellular data. So allow your music to access your cellular data for streaming and downloading your songs or updating your library. And if we scroll down a little bit, we also see that we have a cellular streaming quality, so you can choose high quality or high efficiency. And then also down here you see you have the option to download over cellular. So whether you download some new songs and you're not on Wi-Fi, you can turn that option on. If you go into your Apple Watch's face gallery, you obviously have to be on the latest version of watchOS as well, which I'm not at the moment, but you will notice 2 new Pride watch faces to go along with the new Pride watch bands that were just released. But again, I need to update my watch in order to see that. And the final thing that's kind of cool is if you go into your control center and you actually customize your different control center icons, you'll notice that Shazam is right here, and you can add Shazam in here now, but you actually do not have to have Shazam installed on your device. What you can do now is simply use the app clip. So if I were to hit this Shazam icon here in my control center, it would start listening for a song, and once it recognizes it, it will ask me to download the app clip. So now you can just use the app clip instead of installing Shazam completely to identify songs. Okay, let's talk about the bug fixes real quick here. So not too terribly many. So the first one is the unlock with Apple Watch may not work after using lock iPhone. So there's 2 different settings. It's kind of confusing. But basically, if you use the new feature to where you can use your watch to unlock your phone, or you can use your phone to lock your watch, it may not have been working properly, so that should be resolved now. Also, in your reminders application, some people were reporting that it was actually appearing completely blank, so that should not happen anymore. If you use the call blocking feature, so if you go to your settings in your phone, and there's a call blocking feature which blocks automatically all numbers that are not in your contacts list, well, there's a problem where that wasn't even showing up in settings, so that should be there now. Probably the biggest one, though, had to do with Bluetooth devices. So there's a lot of Bluetooth connectivity issues and device switching issues. Things can disconnect, things can switch devices when you didn't want it to. So they should have fixed all those Bluetooth issues now. And the final bug fix here has to do with performance. So Sometimes when you start up your iPhone, you may have noticed that it was a little bit sluggish, so the performance would actually be reduced on startup. That usually applied to older devices, but if you were experiencing any of that, that should not be a problem anymore. And if we want to talk about the iPad here for a second, as usual, it is all the same things that happened in iOS, but interesting that there's only 2 bug fixes for iPad, and that is the reminders appearing blank and the Bluetooth device problem. The rest of those are all iPhone related. And the final thing we can take a look at here, of course, are security related items. So if you notice, we have security updates for watchOS 5, tvOS, iOS 14.6, iPadOS, macOS Big Sur, and if you're on Mojave, as well as Catalina, you also have some security updates, and there's a new version of Safari. But we're talking about iOS and iPadOS in this video, so there are several. I mean, it's always crazy to see how many there are, but yeah, we have quite a few security related items here, and then they actually are starting to give credit to whoever finds these, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, we have quite a bit of security related items, so as usual, I'll put these down, or I'll put the link to this Apple support page in the description down below in case you want to look at these security fixes. But yeah guys, so that is everything new in iPadOS as well as iOS 14.6. Let me know what you guys think about this update down in the comments down below. I imagine this is probably the final update we will see before we get a first look at iOS 15 at WWDC 2021, which is here in a couple of weeks. Man, time really does fly. But anyways guys, stay tuned to the channel. I got the watchOS video and the macOS Big Sur video coming your way shortly. But thank you all for the support as always, watching the channel, liking the video, subscribing. It means a ton to me. But anyways guys, that's all I got for you today, and I will catch you all in the next video.